Hi there, I'm Erick Schneider. I wear a few different hats. One of them is I do banking and payments at Kraken. Another one is I'm on the board of directors at CrossTech. Thanks to both of those intersections, I'm here today with Alex Guttler from Paxos. Thanks for joining us, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
And I think it's very exciting there to hear a little bit about your backstory, which is quite interesting on what got you to Paxos first, what Paxos is doing, and then we can talk about what our joint collaboration is, USDG. How does that sound?
Totally, sounds great. Thanks for having us here. This is an awesome event. It's been so great to see both current partners as well as prospective partners coming here, sharing about all the ideas that are happening. Also, we're seeing things like how generative AI is changing the world, as well as stablecoins, which you were just talking about recently. So as Eric said, I'm Alex Guttler. I lead partnerships on our enterprise partnerships across our FinTech segment and payment segment in Paxos. And I've been at Paxos for 4 years now. And what originally brought me to Paxos was a group of friends that I worked with 12 years ago here in New York City at an advertising technology company. And I think ultimately what pushed me over the line, I was working at Stripe at the time, was I've never seen such a commercial opportunity where you have millions of companies around the world that are going to start doing something with digital assets, whether it's crypto or stablecoin, yet you only had a very small number of infrastructure providers that could serve those companies. And Paxos happened to be one of those companies, happened to be also a well-regulated company, which was a differentiator, and then also had stood up these large commercial enterprises with the likes of MasterCard and Mercado Libre and Nubank and Stripe. And so that's originally what got me to Paxos. And I think what's kept me here is the market. We've seen the market go up and down, and we're in such an amazing time right now where I think even people like us who are in it every day can't believe how fast it's moving, how quickly it's evolving. We're only 20 years old, but we look like because the crypto market has aged us. But it really has just been, I think, surprising even to those of us who are in it every single day, how quickly the market is moving. And so in terms of what Paxos does, if you're not familiar, we're a regulated digital asset infrastructure company, and we really cover two different things. One is the tokenization of assets, largely issuing them against dollars in the form of stablecoins. We also issue gold-backed assets like Pax Gold, and then we also have an infrastructure product. So our infrastructure product is both a payments product as well as a digital wallet and crypto wallet, where we have custody as well as liquidity. So companies like Nubank and PayPal are using Paxos in order to give their users the ability to buy, sell, hold, send, receive digital assets like Bitcoin, as well as stablecoins. And then on the payment side, we noticed about 2 years ago, there were all these opportunities to start doing things for real with stablecoins for the first time, where it was really starting to get broad adoption and scale. And as an issuer and an infrastructure provider, we saw an opportunity to really start focusing on that payments vertical. And so we've worked with MasterCard for a long time now. I did a partnership with Stripe last year where Stripe is using Paxos to actually let their merchants accept stablecoins as payment methods. And so at the recent Stripe Sessions conference that started yesterday, they were just announcing how they're seeing users, merchants of theirs who are accepting stablecoin payments are seeing twice as many users from twice as many countries who are sending payments in to their merchants. And so it's really expanding the TAM for these merchants. So
I love seeing that there. And I want to go back to one of the things that you had mentioned, because this is such of an overlap between what CrossTech does and what Paxos is doing as far as merchants. Yep. So PayPal, MasterCard, for example, that you referenced, how are they leveraging Paxos exactly? I'd love to hear the double click on that.
Yeah, totally. So both of them are using it as an infrastructure provider, and they're leveraging our stablecoins as well. So with someone like PayPal, we actually issue their white label stablecoin, PYUSD, which we launched in August of 2023. They're also using our infrastructure. So if you are a Venmo or PayPal user in the US, you open your PayPal wallet, you see a crypto button, you click that, you go buy Bitcoin. That's actually Paxos on the back end that is providing that infrastructure. So it's a seamless experience where PayPal is building the front end of that, and they're managing the user onboarding and stuff like that. But Paxos is actually the custodian who's holding the assets. We're the liquidity provider, and then from a regulatory perspective, we have the oversight over all of those different activities. So that's how we partner with PayPal. On the MasterCard side, we partner with them on stablecoin settlement. So they've worked with Paxos since about 2021 to be able to settle with both issuers and acquirers who are running card programs with them who want to receive stablecoin or to send stablecoin to them. So that, I would say, I'm sure we'll talk about this more, is a big area where we're seeing companies like MasterCard, companies like Stripe coming and saying, hey, we need an infrastructure provider and we need a stablecoin. How can you help us?
Well, that leads me obviously to the next question, which I've been champing at the bit to talk about, which is USDG, the Global Dollar Network there. So we're not just friends, we actually work together and collaborate.
We're also colleagues.
Exactly right. And so I'd love to hear your perspective on USDG, because I can spell it, but that's about as far as I can get. So I'd love to hear from the insights from a smart person there as far as how you see USDG and how exactly it's going to change the world.
Yeah, it's a great question. And we're thrilled to partner with Kraken and a number of other great partners, many of whom are here today. Really on the back of launching PYUSD, we saw a lot of large enterprise companies coming to us saying, hey, we think we want to launch a white label stablecoin. And when you ask people why they want to launch a white label stablecoin, reason number 1, 2, and 3 usually is we want to earn the economic incentives that you get from buying the treasuries and holding the reserve. And so we effectively, in partnership with folks like yourselves and Anchorage, crafted the way that USDG works to be, well, what if we gave away most of the economic incentives to the participants and really to the distributors who are doing the work of getting the stablecoins into the hands of their users, whether they're merchants or consumers, and they should be the ones that are receiving those economic incentives and deciding for themselves, do we want to pass that on to the final consumer or merchant, or do we want to keep some share of that or something in between? And so the idea behind USDG is really that it's this network of companies that have come together where the distribution layer is receiving those economic incentives. And again, they're passing them on to the consumer versus V1 of stablecoins was the issuer, whether it's Paxos or Circle or Tether, keeps all of those incentives themselves. You've seen Tether's business really take off and become one of the most profitable companies in the world. But a lot of people who are using those products are saying, well, wait a minute, I'm driving the utility and the market cap, I'm bringing liquidity to it. Why am I not also getting some of those economic incentives? So the way that USDG works is anyone can join the network. It's an open network. We all believe in open networks. And anyone can join this network, use the stablecoin. You can bring on-ramps, you can bring off-ramps, you can be sending it cross-border to people. Whatever your use cases are, whether it's holding custody, minting, or accepting, you are earning incentives from USDG. And so that's a big reason why people are coming to us, is because they say, hey, I like this network model because it means I don't have to build this whole thing myself, which if you're launching your own white label stablecoin, you really do have to build a network on your own, which is really damn hard. We've seen
and expensive.
It's really expensive, it's really hard, it's time consuming. And at the end of the day, what do you want? You want utility, you want broad liquidity, you want a network. So if you're able to plug into something that already has all of that existing, it just makes it a lot easier to take advantage of this technology without taking on the brain damage of having to launch it all for yourself. So that's really what USDG is and why we've seen a lot of big companies come to us say, we want to join and we want to be an active member in the network.
All right, so on the joining side, you said anybody. I'm sure my dad would be very excited to join there, but I don't want to be teaching him how to do it on the phone already, God forbid.
You got to have tech support concerns, I'm sure.
That's exactly it. I'm his tech support.
That's right, we all are.
How would you phrase it as, what do you think is the ideal segment that would benefit from joining the consortium of USDG?
Yeah, I would say anyone that is moving money around the world who already is taking advantage of stablecoins or is thinking of taking advantage of stablecoins can and should join. There's no cost to join. All you're doing is signing terms and conditions that effectively say that we can write you a check when you earn the incentives that you earn. Anybody who's holding money as well, so because there's a custody incentive involved, and he was holding money as collateral or was holding money in custody for people, you're going to be earning significant incentives for that, up to 100% of the net yield that we're holding the reserves for. So I would say anybody who's moving money, anybody who's holding money, anybody who's already using stablecoins or is interested in using stablecoins, all of them should come. And I think what's most exciting, and as a partnerships person who's worked in BD and partnerships my whole career, I think what makes this so fun that you and I were talking about earlier is you can come in any door to USDG, and it's always the right door. Yeah. And I truly mean that. You can walk in Kraken's front door, you can walk in Anchorage's front door, Paxos' front door, and we're all happy to have you there. And whatever technology platform that you're using that's your preferred one, or if you have multiple, that's fine. We're driving the adoption and support of USDG across all of the big platforms to make it easy so that the availability, the liquidity is there for people. So I would really say anybody who's thinking about or already using stablecoins should come talk to us.
That sounds great. Are you able to share any names that have already joined?
Yeah, sure. So aside from Kraken, Anchorage, Paxos, Nuve, WorldPay, Galaxy, Bullish, we've got a number of new and exciting partners. Rain, who's an amazing company that's issuing stablecoin-backed cards on top of Visa, is in the network. WorldPay is a more recent one that we just announced a couple of weeks ago. More recently, Stripe actually started accepting USDG within their Pay with Crypto app, which is built on top of Paxos' infrastructure. So we're seeing quite a bit of strong adoption of big names coming in, and we think the next quarter is going to have even more.
So on the next quarter, I'd love to hear your projection. Next time we sit down in a year from now, hopefully with a tasty cocktail in our hand, what would you see happening in that 1 year for a global dollar network there? What do you think the projection is?
Yeah, I mean, I think we will go from hundreds of millions of dollars to billions of dollars in market cap. Of that, I'm certain. I think we will have hundreds of partners that have joined the global dollar network. I think we're going to see both existing use cases that are bringing lots of activity and volume into the network, as well as new use cases that we've not even seen take off yet. You know, just yesterday at Stripe's conference, they launched a merchant wallet product. Nuve launched a merchant wallet product late last year, and I think that's going to be a product that really takes off, especially for anybody that's got a global business that wants to be able to give their users an ability to hold dollar-backed stablecoins and really dollars in an account to not only utilize for paying and receiving, but also to be able to earn yield on that money while it's sitting at rest. I think that's going to be, to me, one of the biggest use cases that we see driving adoption of stablecoins around the world. Because what it's doing is it's really obfuscating all of the complexity of stablecoins and digital assets and making it really approachable and easy. And especially as you see more of these Web 2 and native payment companies adopting this technology, whether it's merchant facing or bank facing, I think you're going to see a lot more accessibility of this technology in the places that people are already accessing all of their other money movement, money holding services. And that's maybe the last thing I would say is, I think a year from today, the number of real banks and financial institutions that are allowing people to hold digital assets, that are offering services to their clients in digital assets, and that are actually holding stablecoin reserves and letting people do FX and on and off ramps as digital asset companies. All of that, as we see the regulatory landscape around the globe change and frankly change for the better as we've seen in the last even 6 months, I think is going to make these regulated financial institutions more comfortable, which is really what they want. They want the regulatory clarity and certainty that they can operate and not have to worry about jeopardizing anything with the licenses they hold or the core business that they operate. I think once that becomes more clear for people, which at least in the US, it feels like in the next quarter or two, we'll probably see happen. And I think that is just going to completely open the floodgates. And we've seen this over the last couple of years working with banks around the world. You know, for better or worse, a lot of people do look to what's happening in the US as a sort of beacon of what they think is okay or feel comfortable doing in their own markets. And so I think as you see the US do that, you'll see a lot of other countries become more comfortable. You've already got the MiCA framework across Europe that's taken off. So I think it seems pretty clear the direction is up and to the right. And so we could be more excited about the time and the position that we're all sitting in now.
I love that you share my enthusiasm for the crypto space, especially on the stablecoin. Much more to come from Paxos. Alex, thanks again for being here, and I hope you guys learned as much as I did. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.